Caroline Kennedy wrote a very long letter to Congress referring to RFK Jr. as a predator and urging the Congress not to confirm him, the Senate not to confirm him. Now, the best man at her wedding was the former Senator Ted Kennedy. Where do I start? I could start with Chappaquiddick. I could start with a long article that's written about him, either in Vanity Fair or GQ, I forget, called A Sober Look at Ted Kennedy, and talked about the numerous instances in which Senator Kennedy assaulted women, accosted them, inappropriately touched them. And when that article came out and I read it, I said, how is this man ever going to survive? Article came out, and while there was some discussion about it, a tree fell in the forest and didn't make much of a sound. Eventually, Teddy Kennedy apologized for his behavior and said they're going to do better. In his last few years of his life, relatively no controversy. But do you really want to use the word predator when the man who walked you down the aisle at your wedding was Ted Kennedy? These people are just too much. And don't get me started on Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton is at the Carter funeral, and he's very respected, and people forget about the allegations against him. And they were very, very serious allegations, and virtually nobody talks about it. And I've talked about the allegation made against Tara Reid, made against Joe Biden by Tara Reid, his former staffer. We interviewed her. You know where she lives right now? Because of death threats. She lives in Russia. A staffer for Joe Biden said Joe Biden assaulted her sexually. She actually went to her supervisor and told her supervisor, and nothing happened. And when she came forward to make the allegation during the campaign, Kamala Harris, who's also running for president, said, I believe Tara Reid. Other women came forward, and it wasn't just one or two, and said that Joe Biden behaved inappropriately. Now, Kamala Harris became his running mate, and as far as I know, I don't recall anybody asking her, do you still feel the same way you once felt about the allegation made against your running mate by Tara Reid? Like it never happened. I've been watching politics a long time. Allegations are made. And I've reached the conclusion that if people don't like you, however thin the allegations are, however he or she the allegations are, they will be believed. And if people like you, they're less likely to be believed. But then you have to look at some of the absolute refusal to accept certain kinds of facts. I'm old enough to remember the OJ Simpson case. The prosecutor, Marcia Clark, said, in all my years in prosecuting cases, I've never seen a case where guilt was more obvious. I mean, there was his blood, her blood. There was the glove at the crime scene, glove at his house in Rockingham. There was a knit cap with hair that matched his kind of hair. Footprint. He claimed he didn't have shoes like that. And after the trial was over, during the civil trial, up comes a picture where O.J. Simpson had the shoes on that he said he would never own because they were ugly. Talk about motive. There was the slow-speed chase where he had a gun to his head. There was the police interview where he came without a lawyer and had cuts on his hand, and he couldn't explain the cuts. Much of this was not introduced because, frankly, the prosecution thought they had so much evidence they could ignore certain kinds of things. There was, by the way, an even eyewitness A lot of people don't know that. Her name was Jill Shively. She saw the white Bronco leaving the crime scene at that time, that night. She even called the police because the car was driving so recklessly, and she had a partial license plate number that matched OJ Simpson's number. Why did Marsha Clark use her? Because she sold her story for $5,000 to a tabloid, and Marsha Clark thought that undermined her credibility. Furthermore, she had so much other evidence she didn't need it. Yet 80% of black people thought OJ Simpson was innocent. 80%. The man did everything but leave his business card at the crime scene. How do you analyze that? Now about the same percentage of blacks as whites believe OJ Simpson is guilty. Years later, there was a documentary, and one of the black jurors was interviewed, and she admitted the reason she voted not guilty was because of Rodney King. And she was asked, did the other black jurors feel the same way? She said, most of them. So you cut a guy loose who overwhelmingly had evidence that he committed a double homicide because of revenge of Rodney King. So when I look at things people believe and things people don't believe, you have to factor in whether or not somebody has a political agenda, whether or not somebody just doesn't like somebody and will construe the evidence in its worst possible way. And that's what people have done to Donald Trump because they despise him so much. Donald Trump had allegations, but my goodness, so did Bill Clinton. So did Joe Biden.
Thanks for watching these clips from The Larry Elder Show. If you enjoyed this content, be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss a moment. More thought-provoking discussions are just a click away, so stay tuned, and we'll see you in the next one.